What I wanted to say for starters is that, in short, the idea of the Modern Agent project is to help you as agents to be easy to find, easy to buy from, and easy to work with. And there are different topics that we'll cover over the next few months that we'll go through those. Today's happens to relate to all of them and not to any one of them specifically. I thought we might begin with the end in mind. This is Andy, if some of you have talked with him, one of our partners, leads our operations team. This could be you. I mean, take a look at this guy here. He's got his 4 computer screens over here, little external keyboard. Actually that desk moves up and down. He's got it made. I think he's got it all figured out, except maybe for some of his fashion choices. The socks, the clothing are optional. But what we wanted to share with you as we do this is that what we're talking about are things that we're actually doing in Firefly. Everything that we do today and all the sessions is meant to be the result of our actual experimentation and work, and not just ideas that we hope might work out. Now here we have Heather, who's part of our team, at her office where she works. I guess it's in her home where she's working from. And you'll see that both she and Andy had 27-inch monitors, and there will be, as promised, a drawing after the session for a 27-inch monitor. All you need to do to be entered into that drawing is there's at the very end a question that we'll ask you. You can put your answer in the chat. Everybody who does will be entered into that drawing. We'll use an online random way to do that and notify people by email afterward who got that. Wanted to start with a quick statistic as well. And it's really as short and sweet as this, from 2 different sources. 82% of consumers think that your digital experience is at least somewhat or very important in choosing who to work with. 16%, only 16% of people want to return to traditional face-to-face ways of buying stuff. Now, what I want to say about this is 2 things. First is the digital experience and your ability to work with people and the way people do these days really does matter. We're not saying that face-to-face doesn't matter. It does. In fact, we think that the relationship and the experience of being a real person and not just a call center somewhere is really important. But what we are saying is that you can actually use some of these digital tools to work better with your customers in ways that you already have been. And that's what we're going to try to go through here today. Also, a quote and one other clarifying point. I love the book Good to Great. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. And the author only has a brief chapter in this about technology. Part of his point is technology itself doesn't make companies or businesses great. What he does say is that when used right, technology becomes an accelerator of momentum, not a creator of it. So what we here at Firefly want to say to you as well is that technology on its own won't make you great. Just like not having it doesn't make you bad. But we feel, looking ahead, not too far down the road, that you aren't likely to have great success without technology. That you could think of technology as a magnifier of the things you're already doing, and things that go well, technology can make those work better for you. And things that, that don't, they're just only worse if you can't communicate with your customers so much. So today's topics are going to be in these general categories. First, we're going to look at a modern workstation, useful software to help you, communicating with your coworkers, and also some tools for talking with your customers. I'll let you know here too, just to save you furious writing, that at the end, you're going to get links to everything we talk about today, all the software, the hardware, everything. So don't worry about wondering, oh my gosh, where am I going to find this? How am I going to remember all this stuff? If anything, just make notes of the things that you think, oh, that's a tool that I think I would like to try, and you will get that stuff at the end. I also want to clarify and make sure everybody understands that the whole point of today's session is not about working remotely. It's about working better. The things that we're showing you are things we were doing, almost all of them, before Firefly went and started working remotely. So again, if you're thinking to yourself, I'm not going to ever start working from home or whatever, doesn't matter. This information really still can help you, we think. Also want to point out that we are totally here to help, but we're not tech support, right? We're not the Geek Squad from Best Buy. So our objective today is to point you in the right direction on a lot of these things, to get you to resources that can help you do it. So for your own self-learning and implementation, I do have an ability to give you some help, which I'll explain at the end. But we just hope we don't set an unrealistic expectation that we'll show you this and you'll say, great, please implement this in my agency. Ultimately, of course, that will be up to you. Just a couple quick memes to get us started as well. the learning curve is too steep for some people with technology, and some of us remember actually buying cameras like that 20 years ago. Hard to believe we carry them in our phones. Hopefully you're here not at this stage in your technological fluency, right? And you're in a better place than this. You might be more like this character from television, who feels like, I don't understand everything, and I'm kind of afraid or think it's a little too intimidating and so forth. If so, that's okay. We really hope today that if you want to understand, that you can learn about some of these tools and see how you can use them in your own agency. And we don't want you to be afraid to ask. To that end, on your screen, and I've got 3 monitors here, so I'm looking off to my leftmost monitor. On the left, you'll see, or sorry, on the right hand of your screen, there's the chat. If you have questions, type them in there at any time. And what we'll do is we'll have a Q&A portion toward the end of our session. It's almost one of the last things where I can go through those. It'll put the question on the screen and we can address those. Depending on how many we get, we might not be able to answer all of them, but if that's the case, we'll try to answer some of those through an email that we can send to everybody as well. So we do want to hear your questions. We do have a question for you for starters. And that is, let's see. This actually, I hope it's showing. What I'm trying to do is show a survey question. Okay, good, it is. Somebody has voted. Here's the point. We just wonder what keeps you from using more technology in your agency. Is it too complicated, too expensive, don't know if it make a difference? You're already using it and just want to learn some more, or if there's something other and you want to put it in the right. I see a few comments here. Julia, you said all of the above. And we'll just give a moment more for people to put your response in there. Looks like already using it and want to learn some more is where most people fall, which is fantastic. But whether you feel that it is too complicated or too expensive or something else, let's see what else. Mary Flanagan says, trying to implement, but time is a limiting resource. Rob, you said paranoia or worry about making a mistake. Well, those are really good points. And this is the kind of thing too, and some of these things that we talk about, hopefully it'll show you, oh, I would like to do that. And a lot of our point here today is to save you time. And the time that we've put into this, that you can say, great, show me the tool, show me how to do this, and you don't have to go figure it out. And maybe like you said, or we're getting at Rob, don't have to feel like so worried about making a mistake because other people are showing you some things they have done that have worked. So I'll go ahead and end the voting on that one for right now. It looks like we've got 45 out of the 60. Let's see, can we share this here so you guys can see that? Maybe you see this screen now. I hope that you can. This is my first time using this webinar software, but what you'll see is, looks like, basically 50% of you, just said you're learning a lot and want to use more. So let's dive in with that then. And hopefully, I think you're seeing my screen again. And as we talk about the modern workstation, and by the way, I should emphasize too, we're not saying the way we do it is perfect and right, and everybody just needs to do it our way. There are so many variations on this. If this just sparks some ideas, that's fantastic on its own. But in our opinion and experience, it really makes sense to start with a laptop for a couple reasons. And this is actually a picture of my desk, my workstation right here. This is my computer and my other 2 monitors that I've got. Why a laptop? One, because it's portable. And if you do want to work remotely or from place to place, it's going to be a whole lot easier than hauling a tower around. Secondly is almost all laptops will have a little webcam right there. And for some things that you want to do, whether it's with your own coworkers or talking to customers, recording videos for customers, we have some things like that we'll talk about later, not today, but in later Modern Agent sessions. Sure makes that a lot better. One other thing is that some laptops are they call them a 2-in-1. Or sometimes might say 360. You'll see my laptop, it's not that it's missing a keyboard. I'm able to flip the screen around underneath and it's on a stand right here so that it's a little up and out of the way. It gives me a little more desk space. That can be a really helpful thing, especially when you have multiple monitors instead of having a laptop that intrudes onto your whole desk and you're finding you don't have place to put other things. So we think a laptop is a really helpful way to start. For us, obviously, it made the COVID experience much more manageable. But don't panic if you have desktop computers and feel like, well, then this isn't for me. Nope, everything else we talk about can still apply. And in fact, you could do everything else later, add a laptop, and all these other tools will just convert right over to it. All right, first thing you need to do, it's boring, but it's important, in our opinion, is to secure your computer with BitLocker. And what we mean by that, BitLocker is a Windows 10 feature that is only available on the Pro version of Windows. And that is like a $99 upgrade, I think, if you're on Windows 10 Home. But what it does is it actually encrypts your hard drive. If somebody were to steal your laptop and you didn't have that, or if they stole a computer tower, they could take your hard drive out, plug it into another machine, and read everything, even if they don't have the password to your computer. If you have BitLocker enabled, it actually encrypts the whole drive, and even if somebody takes the hard drive out and attaches it to try to get your data off of it, they can't. So in the spirit of insurance agents who are aware of cyber liability and that kind of thing, this certainly is important, and we would encourage you to do that. Again, I got a little note at the bottom. If you're wondering, how do I know if I have Home or Pro? We have some links that will show you exactly how to do that. Multiple monitors. Boy, this for us is a huge difference maker. This is Jay, by the way. He's the one whose nephew is graduating today, or maybe there's a better word for that. Apologies, I was not in the service. This is his workstation, and the statistics are that if you get a second monitor, it increases your productivity by at least 25%, and a third monitor by even more. I don't know exactly if those numbers are right, but I'll tell you this. Once you've had a second monitor, and then you go back to just having the one, on your laptop or your computer, you feel cramped because you get so used to being able to have that space. And when you get a third as well, you start feeling like, how in the world did I ever live without this? And I'll be honest and tell you that we've had people on our team who have resisted at first. Oh, I don't need a second monitor. They have a second, they're like, I don't know that I need a third. But without fail, when they have those, they love them. And I really, really believe that you will too. A couple things that I'll point out here: monitors, 24 to 70, sorry, not 72, 24 to 27-inch monitors. Usually you can get them on Amazon and Best Buy, maybe Micro Center for between $140, $160. Sometimes the 24-inch ones are a little bit less. Don't always assume Amazon has the best price. They don't. Best Buy beats them a lot, and a place like Micro Center also can be really good. One thing that you'll notice here with with Jay's setup, well, two things. This is his laptop over here, and you'll see he has flipped it around, kind of the same way I did with mine. And he just set it on this little box to hold it up there. And you'll also see that his monitors are not standing on the desk. Well, he has here just a monitor stand. Again, you can buy this kind of thing on Amazon for maybe 35 to 50 bucks. That you can get them that can hold 1, 2, or 3. And it, again, gives you some desk space, keeps the monitors up so you're not looking down all the time, hurting your neck, make your chiropractor happy. But we have, again, included in the links that will follow this session, there will actually be instructional pages of other people's websites that we found that are really great instructions on, okay, when you plug it in, here's how you set it up, and tell your computer to know, where is this monitor? Is it on the left? Is it on the right? What do you want to have on that monitor? To mirror your current screen, or to actually extend your desktop across them, which is what you do. But the beauty of this is, you can have, your email up in one, easy links in another. Um, maybe you've got a county website, you can look at properties and stuff on the other, whatever makes you happy. Boy, using multiple monitors, probably one of the single biggest productivity difference makers that we have here in Firefly. And Sam is commenting there that quoting with multiple monitors will change your life. I presume, by the way, Sam, that you're talking about that as in terms of you can have your information up on one screen and quoting it on another. It really is fantastic. I see a couple other questions here. I will say for Amika that yes, we are recording this, and it will automatically be emailed to you if you're registered for the session. So you don't even have to worry about requesting it. And the BitLocker question, I think we'll get that and some other ones at the Q&A. But keep the questions coming, folks. Appreciate your participation here. Here's another example. This is Jamie. She actually moved recently to West Virginia and is still able to work with us. We're really glad. This is her setup where she lives. Again, you'll see she doesn't have a stand. The monitors are just here like normal. And her laptop, even though it can flip around, she doesn't need it to. She's just got her laptop in its regular mode, and she popped it up here on this little thing to hold it. You can buy special stands for laptops, or this looks like it's just a document holder, maybe from Staples or Office Depot or something. But anyway, what you can see here is there are multiple ways to do this. There really isn't a right or wrong. Generally, it is good to get them higher up so that your neck doesn't hurt. But how do you use your laptop? If it's up here, you don't want to be like Frankenstein, typing way up here, and that will throw your body out of whack as well. So you're going to need a few other tools if you do it this way, which would be an external keyboard and a mouse. Now, this don't stress about this. It can be as expensive or inexpensive as you want it to be. For example, if you have an old desktop computer, or, if you're like us, we had like 5 old keyboards in our office, when we shut it down. But you can just take a wired keyboard with a USB and plug it into your laptop. Same with a mouse. Or you can go with something that's a little fancier. This is the keyboard that I'm using right now, is the one that you see here on the bottom of the screen. It's a Microsoft Surface. I just love it. I don't know if it's like the Cadillac of keyboards. It's like $100, but I'm all day on this thing and figure it's kind of like having a good pillow, right? You're going to spend some time there, so make it good. I also love this mouse that I'm using here. And again, this one's not necessarily a cheap one, but what I love about it is it's wireless and it's rechargeable. You just plug it into the USB. You don't have to worry about batteries. Something that's a lot less expensive, but still real nice. Microsoft has this combo keyboard and mouse. Again, links will follow in the in the materials that we send to you at the end. But this can just be as simple as being wired. But when you have multiple monitors and your keyboard's over here and your laptop, you can't be using the touchpad and the keyboard on it in that normal way. It would drive you nuts pretty quick. So those are important tools. Now you could start having a bunch of wires collecting, right? When you start putting this together, especially if you're using wired keyboard or wired mouse. So you may want to get a docking station. Now, if you have a laptop and already has an HDMI port in it, and many do, that would give you the ability to have one external monitor. You may not need this, especially if you use wireless keyboards and stuff like that. But all this little docking station, 99 bucks on Amazon. Again, you'll get the link at the end. It's this little tower thing. I have one of these. It's just behind my middle monitor, and it plugs in. It does need some power of its own, and it has one thing that comes out and goes in your computer, and then everything else gets plugged into the hub. So you can put wired internet into it. You've got 4 USBs in the front, on the back rather, 2 in the front. You can put in headphones. It has 2 HDMI ports. The idea is you can just have everything plugged into this hub and only one USB. So like if you were to see my computer, you'd see I have just one USB on the side. So if I want to take my computer and go take it to the kitchen table, I only have one thing to unplug, and I disconnect from all this stuff, as opposed to having to take out all, there's the monitors and all that other kind of stuff. So this is a really handy thing. Again, could be optional. As you do start gathering some of this equipment, you'll probably need a power strip, good for both surge protection and just to make sure you got enough places to plug this stuff in. Let's see. I see some people are commenting on working on 3 screens. By the way, please do keep that chat going there, and I'll address some of those questions again when we get to the end. Scanning, something that I've had a couple agents actually ask me about. What do you do about scanning if you're at home? One thing you'll find is it's amazing how little there actually is to scan. Depending on how much mail you get, that's generally our only source of things that need to be scanned. And we would propose a couple ways you can do it. One is you can, I guess it's not, there's not a picture of it on the screen, but you could have a multifunction printer, scanner, copier type of device that you just have. Again, whether it's at the office or at home, that could be great. You just use it for both. But if you want to have something, again, this is just, you can see it. This is one that's in the picture. This is just a little scanner. It just goes in through USB, doesn't even need a power plug. It just does 1 page at a time, but it can do where you have like a 5-page document, you scan, it'll put them all together in one PDF when you're done. It's only 100 bucks. However, you also have a scanner in the form of your phone or device. Office Lens by Microsoft or Adobe Scan are free options for this. And what you can see here on the screen is you open the app, you point it to the thing you want to scan. Generally, it'll ask you after you take the picture, are these the borders that you wanted? You can adjust them, and then you can tell it to save it as a PDF or as a JPEG or whatever that you want. PDF is generally best, and there you go. So scanning can be as simple as doing it on your phone. This works a lot better than you might think. I'd probably try this out before I try a physical scanner, just to save yourself some money. Oh, and scanning, somebody says iPhones also have scanning that's built in, which is a great thing to know. Anti-malware software. Maybe I should have addressed this back when we talked about BitLocker, but boy, this is a must-have, right? And the good news is that most companies have free versions of their antivirus, and the main downside of those is it's just not very customizable. You can't adjust certain things on it, but it's as the protection provided by it is as good as the paid versions. We wanted you to know, though, that it's surprisingly affordable to get more robust versions of it. We happen to use Bitdefender, and there is a link to that. We're not recommending it, right? Because if something went wrong with Bitdefender and you said, darn it, Fritz said we should use that one and it had an issue, it's very highly rated. But even something like that, check it out. For 3 years on 3 devices is a one-time cost of $112. That's, what, like 10, $12 per computer per year, dollar a month. Totally worth it, right? And if anybody has had a virus take down one of the computers, a number of years ago, we had a customer service person who, in my own little branch, who had that happen. It was terrible, and you'd say I should have spent the money on that. So make sure you have an antivirus. Okay, so those things have to do with the workstation that you're at. And again, that could be true. This is exactly the same stuff I was doing when I was sitting at an office, well, in an office, as opposed to here in my home. We also were using some of these things to communicate. We're going to talk about now is more some software things that can help you in your agency. So this one specifically, communicating with your team is really important. We've had a few people ask us, how do you hire and manage people to work for you who are not in your office? To me, uh, something like this is critically important. It's almost like being on Star Trek. If you ever watched that show, I know I did when I was a kid, where just instantly you can be talking to your team members. It can also show your presence, like are they at their computer or not. But there are software like Teams. We use Microsoft Teams, Slack. Those are both free, by the way, or at least have free versions. Zoom has some. There are other ones as well that let you do video and chat. So this is just our small group that worked on Modern Agent in one of our meetings that we did, and you can easily share screens with people. Honestly, even when we were working in the same office, sometimes I do a screen share with Andy, even though he's in the next one over, because it's more convenient than looking over somebody's shoulder at a computer screen, right? But communicating with your team is really important, whether or not you're working from home. This is really important. Yes, if you do video, you're going to have to pay a little more attention to yourself than if you're just on audio, like at today's webinar. But if you decide you end up wanting to do some video things with your customers as well, hey, you don't have to look your best or snazzy as this little pooch does, but it doesn't hurt to look a little, at least semi-professional, right, wherever you're working. So as far as communicating with your team, this is just a screenshot from Microsoft Teams. What you see here is the desktop version of it. And you could think of it mostly as like a chat type of a program, or like texting, except the text gets saved forever. And you can also share documents and images and stuff through it. Cool thing is all these kinds of programs also have a mobile app. So that, again, you can be anywhere, and as long as you have your phone, communicating with people on your team. Not saying you should be doing that at 11 o'clock at night. We try at Firefly to be very clear. When you're off work, right? But the point here is you can have these tools wherever you go. And we think this has become just a core part of what we do and how we interact with each other at Firefly. In addition to that, you need to be able to store and share some files. Now, important point, your management system is the best place for you to put policy-related documents, right? So your signed apps, documentation, when they send you their grades, that kind of thing, comments about your interactions with them. Put that into your management system. But you're going to have other stuff too. Maybe you have questionnaires that you use for customers. Maybe you have letters that you have stored. Those things, we highly recommend use a service like OneDrive or Dropbox or Google Drive, because it makes it super easy to store and share. Long time ago in Firefly, we had this VPN set up where you had to get into a particular server in our Dublin office, and it was such a pain. I struggled to use it, and I'm fairly technologically savvy, right? The good news is you don't have to do anything like that. In fact, it's so easy now, if you haven't used a service like that before. And yes, Carrie, I am wearing pants. I see that question there, and I'm happy to report that I am. But with this here, that once you have one of these services, you actually install a little program on your computer that makes it so that these folders that show up, so like this is somebody in Windows File Explorer looking on their computer, and this is OneDrive, and it has these folders they set up. Anything you save in those folders automatically gets saved in the cloud on servers somewhere else. Right. And so what's great about this then is you can access it not only from your computer, but also from your phone. And this, by the way, has been a real lifesaver for me, by the way, and even on a personal note, great for travel. You have some travel documents and stuff. I can put them into my OneDrive, and when I'm at the airport or checking in at the hotel, I can pull them up. Super convenient. Also, in addition to just the convenience for yourself, it's super easy to share documents with other people on your team. Nobody can see these folders unless you share them with them. But once you do, they can see them. So you can say, this is our agency file for these documents. And you don't have to say, hey, Mike, would you email me that one again? I need it. It's just there. The other thing is that when you get a new computer, have you ever had the pain or the stress of, I don't want to buy a new computer because it's going to be such a pain to move all my files over from the old one to the new one? Well, you can have these services like OneDrive and so forth, take your documents, your photos, and synchronize those folders right off your computer anyway, along with all these other ones. And when you have a computer that you either need to replace or heaven forbid, it just dies on you, you don't lose everything. In fact, if you saved all your stuff in the right places, you don't lose anything. And you set up your new computer, you download the software again, you log into it, and what do you know? There's all your files and folders again. This has been a huge lifesaver for us. It also gives you some protection against ransomware. At least I know OneDrive keeps old versions of files for up to 30 days. So if you had a ransomware attack and it encrypted some of your files, you can say, hey, forget it, I'm not paying the ransom. I'm just going to go revert back to the files that I had 2 days ago from before when this had happened. In any case, this is a great tool that we highly recommend for you. Someone's asking if we recommend one over the other. And I would say we're big fans of Microsoft. We use Office 365. It has a lot of really cool things. We can't even get into half of them in today's session. And they are really big on security. The biggest struggle you'd have with security on these, honestly, is somebody getting your password and just getting in. They're not likely to get into it by, say, attacking like Microsoft or Google directly. And that's where having good password management, like using LastPass, we don't have time for that particular topic today, can be really important and helpful. And some people really hate Microsoft and love Google. Some people hate Google and love Microsoft, or just say, I want to use something else like Dropbox. I'd say they're all really good. And there are other services too. Box is another one. There are a bunch. So I think you could just try a system and see if it works for you. But I guess I would say this too. If you do really, like if everything you do is already in Google, like you use Google Calendar, you got Gmail and that kind of thing, it would make probably more sense to use Google Drive. If you're already big into Microsoft, it probably makes more sense to use OneDrive and so forth, just because being in the same ecosystem just makes those things usually talk a little better with each other. Okay, for this part here, I'm actually gonna do a little demo if I don't blow it. What I wanna do is share with you, talking with your customers is really important. And you're gonna do most of that probably by phone. What we do and have used, thankfully, before COVID hit, we were already using a VoIP phone system. That stands for Voice over Internet Protocol, or I even just think of it as Voice over Internet phone. And what that is it says instead of having an actual phone jack that you plug your phone into, you're using the internet as your phone service. And for those of you who, and I don't know if maybe in the chat, if anybody's already using a VoIP system, you might note that there. But the cool thing about it is, again, just incredible flexibility. You can transfer your business number over to it. You buy phone service just like you would from any other local provider who comes in and puts the phone service there, but it's so much more flexible. For example, you can use a hardware phone. We had them, and we threw a lot of them out when we started working from home, because we actually use what I'm sharing here on the screen this is my phone. If you call me, this pops up and rings, and I'm able to answer the phone here. A couple cool things, right? And I see some people have Vonage, Uma, Mary, you guys have been using it for years. There are a lot of them will have things like, I can say when I call out, what do I want my caller ID number to be? Do I want it to be the main number? Do I want it to be my direct number? That kind of thing. And because it's software, again, if I have my computer and an internet connection, I'm always able to be connected on my phone, right? One other thing that I wanted to show you that I know that we use Ring Central, by the way. One thing that it does is it lets you put a thing in. So if somebody calls you from a number that you have in EasyLinks, and what I'm doing right now is I'm calling myself. See if my cell phone will work. I have trouble with my. self-service here at my house, funny enough. Okay, so my phone is ringing now. See there, it says, there's me dialing in. I'm gonna hang up on myself. But check this out. It automatically pulled me up in Easy Links. And how did it know to do that? Well, it's because, as you see right now, I have my cell phone number in Easy Links. So there are ways you can do that with a voice over internet system, where if you are frequently getting calls from your customers, which hopefully you are, it can save you a little time, where your customer service people just pops up, click on the name, go into the account, and it could hardly be easier. In addition to that, a lot of these systems like ours, it does let us, people can text me at this number. Although we're going to talk about texting through Easy Links, which would be the better way. That one I think is in January. Also, you can fax. A lot of these systems have a fax. So if I needed to send a fax here, I could go here to compose a fax. It'll ask, for what number it's going to. I can just drag and drop documents, hit, send, and off it goes. Happy to say I don't use that very much these days, of course, but if you need one, there you go. And you don't need extra fax lines, paying for a line of service for that. Also, our system, and most of them also have an app on your phone, right? So I can actually go on my phone to the RingCentral app, and you can do the same with other ones, and take calls on my phone or make calls from my business number on my phone. And all my customers don't have to have my cell phone, which is nice when you want to, turn it off, and you can set up business hours and things like that. So we're going to give you some links in the resources at the end about some of the. It's actually an article by PC Magazine reviewing. It was like 8 different voice over internet providers, so that you can just see what they say about it. Some of these are as little as like $15 per line per month, which is pretty amazing. And by the way, Microsoft Teams does have an online or an ability to do phone calls too, like actual phone calls. There's some technical things behind the scenes for as many people as we have that make that not so useful. But if you like that, then you can use Teams for not only talking with your internal staff, but also making calls to people outside of your organization, and just use that as your one piece of communication software. People are asking if phone numbers are transferable, and they are, especially if you're using these kinds of systems. That is to say, AT&T, Vonage, Dialpad, and so forth. One that would not transfer, at least I don't think that it does, but that could work for you if you are a small agent just getting started. You could use Google Voice. And the idea here with Google Voice, and this is the website for it, is it gives you another phone number. And what you can see on here is this is another phone number that would ring to my cell phone. You get that phone number and you tell it where you want it to be directed. And again, you can set up a separate voicemail for that phone number. You can set up business hours, or like hours where you do or don't want it to ring. But I don't think that phone number is transferable from Google Voice. But anyway, it's free. This is completely free. So if you want to just have a number that isn't your cell phone number and you're working off of a cell phone, this could be a way to go. The downside would be if you wanted to switch over to another phone service, you might need to start over with a new phone number, and that might not be great for your customers. You do, when you're on the phone, want to sound your best, right? It can be wired or wireless. A laptop, I know sometimes when I'm using my laptop microphone, it echoes. I don't know if it's because it's bouncing off the screen. Sometimes it's not so good. Also, if you have children, pets, a talkative spouse, whatever, or just even in your own office, people walking by and talking, a headset, boy, that just makes all the difference between sounding clear and sharp and professional and not. So in this case, by the way, I'm using this Plantronics one that you see there. We've seen them for about $120 to $150. When COVID hit, the price jumped. I think a lot of people bought them. The beauty of this is it's just Bluetooth. I couldn't use this on a regular phone. Some of them have phone jack you plug into it because it works for a real phone. This is internet based, so this just connects with Bluetooth to my computer. This is a little charging thing at the bottom, and it holds a charge for, I think, usually like 6 hours. Wired, you can get these for like $10, maybe $15. And noise canceling makes such a difference. My dogs, if an Amazon makes a delivery and knocks on the door, the dogs go off like an alarm. And and I worry, oh my gosh, do I sound terrible to people who I'm talking to on a phone or a video? Thank heaven, generally they say I can barely hear anything at all, and I'm glad of that. But this is one of those little things that makes a big difference with anything you're doing with audio on a remote basis. I see somebody had a note as well that Josh Stevens, he says you can pay Google to port that number out. Well, that's cool. I didn't know that. So thank you for that, Josh. And I suppose if somebody wanted to use Google Voice, you probably would check with them first on that just to make sure that's still the case. But that makes that a more viable option for people. Okay, we've just about come to the end of the things that I wanted to share with you, and we'll jump to some questions here in a moment. But I did want to let you know that if you're wondering, okay, where do I get the links to all the stuff that we were just talking about? You'll find it in the agent portal. In fact, there's a section that we put up maybe a couple months ago as a sort of a teaser, if you will, but you'll see a category called Modern Agent. And just before we went online today, I published this article called Tools of a Modern Agency. And this is one long web page that goes through everything we talked about and more. And it'll include links to everything that we talked about. It includes those instructions that we were talking about. A recording of this will go to you and be emailed to you automatically. If you forgot your portal login, there's an ability to reset that. And actually, by the way, in case some of you haven't been to the portal in a while, if you just go to fireflyagency.com, in the top right, there's a login button, right? And of course, from there, if you forget your password, you can initiate that to be reset. But we're going to put Modern Agent stuff in here, so it's really easy for you to find. We hope that this is helpful. My guess is some of you have questions that I'll answer and realize, well, you should add that to the portal. So if this is something you want to review in the future, that'd be a good place to go. And all I was going to say is that if you aren't able to get into the portal today and you just want to go to it for the moment, we also have this at fireflyagency.com/modern tools. Other things that are covered online that we weren't able to include here today for time's sake, some things about using online shared calendars, such as this or Google Calendar, LastPass. Oh, writing and typing on PDFs. Hey, great, I can scan and stuff, but what do I do when I want to print something out, sign it, and put it back, or type some stuff on it, scan it back in? There's some software, free software that makes that so easy to do. You'll see that stuff online as well. Also, you will be emailed a checklist, and the checklist is also available on the website, that the links that you'll get there too. A checklist that just shows all these things. You can print it out. You can just put it on your desktop of your computer if you want, just to keep in mind, oh yeah, these are the things that that I might like to do. So that'll be coming to you automatically. Let's take a moment and consider what questions you guys have. Let me go to the Q&A here. Let's see. Okay, so and a couple of these I might have addressed here. Is this recorded and can I access it after today? You can. We'll email it to you, and we'll put a copy of that video also on the web page in the Modern Agent, the Tools of the Modern Agent article. We'll just put that right in there too. So thank you for that question, Mika. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one here. BitLocker, is it transferable from an account? Let's see. The short answer to that is generally no. When you license a copy of Windows, like say Windows Pro, when you upgrade, and if somebody wants to do that, by the way, I've had a lot of experience with this, so I could give you some pointers. Maybe we could even record some stuff on the screen and share it with everybody else later. BitLocker in Windows is generally associated with a machine, a device. If the device crashes and you have to restart Windows all over again, like install from scratch, you should still be able to get it back to Pro without having to pay again. But like if you have a desktop or any computer and you upgrade to Pro and then you buy another one, you would need to either upgrade it to Pro at additional cost, or actually one of the lower cost way to get a Windows 10 Pro, or actually Windows 11 is coming out here soon too, is if you go to some manufacturers' websites, like we buy HP Envy's, HP Envy X360s is what we buy for most of our team. When you buy it, it'll give you an option. Do you want Windows Home or Windows Pro? And with that, it's only $70 to add it. And then they ship it to you. It already has it ready to go. It's taking a while, months right now for computers to ship though. But when the supply chain issues are not there, that's probably better. One other thing I was going to say, it's about BitLocker. Let's see. It was about buying computers and shifting. Oh shoot, I forgot what it was. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. But I do hope that helps. Let's see. Does using 3 monitors versus 2 make a substantial difference? Well, I'm in the Q&A screen, so I can't see the chat, but if anybody has used 3 versus 2, I'd be curious to know what you think. I will say for me, yes. First, you have the third monitor and you think, what am I going to do with this? And then you find that, oh my gosh, I don't know how I lived without it. So um, I guess the only way to know for sure is to try it out, Dave. But maybe have one person do it. I find it to be just so super helpful. But if you only have one right now and you're thinking, should I go to 2? Oh my gosh, I would absolutely at least do that. Somebody said, I seem to scan more than I would like to. I'm going to put that one up here. Mary, you put that down. Now, that might be because you're printing things out to do stuff on them so that you have to scan it back in. If that's the case for anybody, that's where I'd highly recommend if you go on to the Tools of the Modern Agent page that I mentioned before, and that you're going to get that link to in the email as well, and it's in the portal. There's like Zodo and other tools you can use that don't even cost anything, where you get a document and you can go and like write on it or type on it and save it and then send it out. So if printing and scanning is something that you're doing, then maybe that's a way to help you out with that. Here's a question somebody asks sorry, I was scrolling there and I shouldn't have been. I have WebRoot. Is that okay for antivirus? Angela, I'll have to say, I'm not sure off the top of my head which WebRoot is. I would be happy to look, and maybe you could email me that one. I'll try to remember. But as long as it's a full anti-malware antivirus, software that's updated regularly, you're probably in good shape. Some, if you read the reviews, some will do a little better than others. But I think I've heard of WebRoot. I just can't remember if it's a fully functional one or just like a one that is kind of a piece of the puzzle but doesn't necessarily do the whole thing. Let's see. We already talked about OneDrive security. Somebody mentions here they use Grasshopper as a phone, like a virtual phone service kind of a thing. I have heard about that, and I presume they're saying they use it because they're having a good experience too. So if you're looking for alternatives like things like Google Voice, a Grasshopper would be another great one you could consider. Someone is asking, I don't know if it was about Google Voice or any of these. Maybe it was even about using the Office at Hand on your cell phone. Can you limit after hours calls? Yes. So when you have these voice over internet systems, you can tell it on every day at 5 o'clock or 5:30 or whatever, automatically send things to voicemail. So your customers don't have to wait for it to ring a bunch of times before it goes there. So you absolutely can limit it, but you can still use it even if you have it in kind of an after hours type of a setting. So there's a lot of flexibility with that. Somebody had asked, is there a plugin for Easy Links and Ring Central that you have to use? And I presume, Mary, that question is to do with the automatic pop-up from Easy Links. The answer is no. If anybody has a voice over internet service and you're wondering if it can do this, the thing you need to look for in your services, there will be a little, and I'm not doing a screen share right now, but if you go to settings, like in Ring Central, there's a spot for like inbound calls, and it says, is there a URL? And URLs just means a website that you want to automatically pull up when somebody calls in. And what EasyLinks has is this URL you put in with two little codes at the end that'll say, go to this website and tell EasyLinks to search for the phone number on caller ID, and it'll go. So there's not really a plugin so much as a website address that you put into your voice over internet system, and that can make the EasyLinks thing work. So if anybody has specific questions about that, please let me know later. Somebody I think had asked if there was a tutorial about that in EasyLinks, and I'm not sure if there is, but I'll take a look and see if I can find one. Let's see. Somebody asked here, do you have a preferred wireless headset? I will say this is a favorite. We have some people who've used like Apple AirPods and stuff like that with mixed success. It's interesting. I think having the boom come down and so forth, for us, we find that it generally makes a difference. But we've had some people who've just used their regular headphones that are 10, 12 bucks at Target or whatever and had a good experience with it. This one we feel is very much worth the money. It was a little hard to buy them at first, and you're like, oh my goodness, that much. But we have a great experience with them now. Let's see. People talking about some of their VoIP services that they have. Someone is asking if a particular voice over internet integrates with Easy Links. And I don't know if it does, but again, what I'd encourage you to do is look and see if it has a spot where you can have, when an incoming call comes, that it triggers a website to be pulled up. If it has that, you can probably make it work. And I'd be happy to try to help look at that with you for a little bit. Somebody asks, with voice over internet, do you find you have bad connection and have a hard time with an uninterrupted conversation? Jennifer, it's a great question. Years ago, when we first started, we did. We weren't with AT&T at the time, and in fact, we used two other providers before we landed with AT&T. And I don't necessarily want to name those providers because it could be that our internet was a part of that, and it could be that their system is better now. But I will say that you do have to have reliable internet wherever you are where this happens. Voice does not take that much bandwidth, though. Video does. So if you're saying, I'm not going to be, I guess unless you're like streaming multiple YouTube videos at the same time when you're on the phone, I think you'd probably do fine. Voice over internet probably most of the calls you make to any companies now are voice over internet, and so it can work really great. Somebody said, I have a laptop. If I wanted to get a computer desktop, what memory or RAM would be needed to support Firefly? Well, Jesse, it's a great question. And the answer is actually the system requirements for working as an agent aren't that big. I mean, really, you just need to be able to get online and have a computer that can handle running a few screens and programs at once. I mean, if you're not doing video editing or photo editing, these days probably 4 gigs is the minimum a computer even comes with. I think 8 is what we've been buying for people for a while. And we generally get i5 processors if you get Intel. So I would say don't worry about having to get like a super tricked out a computer for this. These days, most of the stuff you're doing is on the web. And I think it'd be hard to buy a computer nowadays that wouldn't work for you well. Although I should say this, Chromebooks and stuff like that maybe don't work so well because of certain things that, programs they might want to install that you can't put on software like that. Now, Noel had asked what my in-person hours are. Well, my kids might say sometimes, does dad ever not work? I work, normal hours through the day, usually 8 to 5. I'm going to give my email address here in a minute. And if anybody has a question, would like to meet with me, I can send you a link where you can schedule a time to meet with me on my calendar. That's something we've considered, by the way, sharing with you as agents. If you would like to be able to send something like to your customers, hey, let's set up a phone meeting or a video meeting, and you could just send them out and they choose a time from your calendar, a time that you are okay with them choosing. There's software that does that. So I'd be happy to share that with you. If people have questions, you'll be able to email me here in a little bit. Let's see, someone says purchased a couple of used monitors for $30 and made sure that we liked it before investing a lot up front. Good idea, Mary. And nowadays, yeah, the monitors, flat screen monitors used to be like gold, right? And now I've got one here. It's just a little 19-inch. I'm just going to throw out because it's too small. Let's see. Oh, somebody's saying that they had Bitdefender before and it slowed down their computer. I'll tell you what, I won't go too much into it because I'm looking at the time. And we promise to keep this before getting too long. We do use Bitdefender. It'd be interesting to know, Rob, how long ago you used it. We find it to actually run pretty lightweight in terms of the system load. So, but we just use one antivirus program. That's it from them, and we don't. I guess that we probably use a fairly high subscription level for it because we want to be really careful about our data. But anyway, we could talk about that, Rob, if you got some questions about it. Let's see. I've wondered if somebody would ask this. Windows 11 is coming out. When should you transition to Windows 11? Louis, I would just say not yet. We've had a few carriers who've emailed us and said, we don't know what's going to be the deal with Windows 11. So please don't do that yet. I would highly, highly agree. You don't want to be on, we want to be in the leading edge, but not so-called bleeding edge of technology, right? So I would say let's wait. I'd probably wait at least 6 months. Maybe we can even let you guys know as a group, hey, we at Firefly are transitioning over to Windows 11. Part of the challenge we have too for ourselves is that everybody knows how Windows 10 works, and when you switch to a new system, they have to find where things are. Windows 10 is really a great operating system, so I would not have anybody feel like they're in a rush. The antivirus that we use, Jennifer, is Bitdefender, and you will be able to see a link to that on the web page.